This is Freedom Square. It's a place that's seen much change and many upheavals. It was actually once called Lenin Square, but that was when Georgia was part of the Soviet Union. Then the Soviet Union fell apart, Georgia regained its independence, and in 2003 came the Rose Revolution.
It was then that Georgians turned out in mass demonstrations to protest rigged elections and to demand a change in government and in direction. And this square came to symbolize that.
This is where the Rose Revolution actually culminated. Right over here at the Parliament building, this is where people power took hold. It forced out the old government of Edward Shevardnadze and it brought in the new. It was in effect a bloodless coup. The opposition came to power. It's not been an easy road since.
The new government of Mikhail Saakashvili promised change, democracy, transparency. It turned decisively westward, became a staunch ally of the United States, and it sought membership in both NATO and the European Union. Another goal was to unify Georgia and to bring back to the fold and under central government control autonomous separatist regions of ethnic minorities. Now, the most prominent of these are Abkhazia in the northwest and South Ossetia in the northeast.
Tensions simmered for a long time, and they finally broke into open conflict just this past August.
Georgia launched military action in South Ossetia to rein in the separatists who were supported by Russia. The Russians responded by sending in troops. They quickly turned back the Georgian offensive and moved deep into Georgia, and they established buffer zones around South Ossetia and around Abkhazia. Each side blamed the other for provoking the fight. The Europeans negotiated a ceasefire, and the Russians have withdrawn from the buffer zones.
On the streets of Tbilisi, life has returned to normal, but the scars remain, and opinions are divided.
The Russians are still in Abkhazia and in South Ossetia, and some 30,000 Georgians are still refugees, unable to go back home. Some Georgians say that President Saakashvili was right to take military action. They say the government had no choice but to respond to provocation. Others say no, they should have negotiated, and they question what good it all did. As for Georgia's allies, there have been strong words of support and financial aid, and there's been strong condemnation of Russia. But the question is, will it get Georgia closer to NATO and the EU? There's little doubt that most Georgians look westward. They see themselves as part of Europe. Georgia has been at a crossroads throughout history, a route for migration and trade, a link between north and south, east and west. And through the years, that has sparked conflict, but it's also brought with it trade and wealth.
The question for modern-day Georgia is how it's going to manage that link to secure its future.